Hello gorgeous, this is Melanie here and I'm going to show you a replication of my bridal makeup that I did on my wedding day. I pretty much did my whole makeup, my whole face myself, my eyes and everything, but I had been practicing a little bit ahead of time about what I wanted to do and the look I wanted to achieve. So I had a plan, and so that is what I just went ahead and did. It took me like an hour and 40 minutes to do my makeup because there were so many interruptions and I just had to nitpick it and everything. So I would recommend, if you're one of those people who wants to do your own makeup, that you either go into a room alone and do your makeup for your wedding, or you let someone else do it for you, because if there are distractions, and there's going to be, it will take you twice to 3 times longer than you are prepared for. So I almost didn't get my dress on in time. The wedding ceremony was supposed to start at 5 o'clock. My children were going to step out the door at 5 o'clock, and then I was going to be right behind them, you know, a minute and a half later. I didn't get my dress on to 4:50, and I still actually made it to go and walk at 5:02. But the problem with that was that I didn't get any bridal pictures made, so I ran out of time. So like I said, my recommendation is either just let someone else do it for you, or set aside 2 hours and start super early. And I'm going to give you some tips for makeup that's going to stay on for 9, 10, 12 hours, even with rain, humidity, perspiration, you know, tears and everything. So that is what today is all about. I'm gonna give you a list of the things that I'm using, the products that I finally researched and found that worked for me, that stayed on forever. And I got, you know, like I said, the most longevity out of these particular products. I don't sell them. I don't get anything for telling you about them. I just thought it took me a long time to figure out the products that would work in this situation, so I thought I would share that with you, so you don't have to go to all that trouble. You'll just have this information right here. And I also will, it might take me a few days, but I will actually put a link in the bottom, or a list in the bottom, of all the products that I used specifically. Okay, so let's get started. Enough rambling. This is probably going to have to come at you guys in 2 parts, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the eyes. The eyes were kind of the focal point of my whole look. I did an ombre eye. I used pinks, yellows, oranges in all of my decor, and I will post pictures of kind of the color palette that I used for the wedding, and that way you will see why I used these particular eye colors. I did use a lot of pigments to give it a very bold, dramatic, you know, va-va-va-voom look. So there will be some of those in this video. Some of these may not be available anymore, but there are comparable pigments out there, and it's not really going to matter which pigment. I don't think it really matters that much which pigments brand wise you use, as long as you use the proper setting spray to make it stay on. Okay, so with that, let's get started, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm not doing my face first, but I am going to prime. Let me go ahead and prime first. What I found that works really well for me was the Urban Decay Optical Illusion Complexion Primer. It is pore perfecting, but it stayed on like you would not believe, and it kept my makeup on. So this is a trial size. I actually got this from Ulta with a trial size, travel size after hours setting spray from Urban Decay, and together those are like your 8-hour, 12-hour staying power, you know, combination. So you're starting with your primer on your face, and then at the end you're going to set it with the Urban Decay. Now, you guys know I love the Limelight by Alcone finishing spray. It's 10 years younger finishing spray for a reason. I will use that as well, but I also used the all-nighter by Urban Decay spray to make sure that nothing was going anywhere. Okay, so now what we're going to do is going to use the Mac Paintpot. The Mac Paintpot is going to hold on my shadow. It is extremely long wearing base for my eye makeup. You can apply this with your finger, or you can take a brush. Like what I normally do is I put a little bit on, and to be sure I have a really even coverage, I will take my concealer fluffy brush and smooth it out to make sure that it goes all the way up to my brow line. And also I just want to make sure that I get some along my lower lash line. That way whatever I put down there is gonna stay there. It's not gonna be transferring on the bottom under my eye, because I don't want. All right, so we're doing the eyes first. That way any fallout can be wiped off. I do not want my foundation done. I don't want my concealer done to ruin it, so that when fallout happens, which it will, I'm not worried about it, okay? I'm taking a fluffy brush. This is the Morphe M501. And I'm just taking some of the Limelight by Alcone translucent powder, and I'm gonna set this paint pot. And the only reason I'm doing this is you don't have to do this. I'm doing it for blendability. I want everything I put over the top of this to blend. All right, so what we're gonna do first, we're going in with the Morphe M433 brush. And the thing is, this is kind of a flat type of fluffy brush, and I can't remember exactly what this is called, but you'll see it kind of flattens out a little bit. It is stained. I've been doing a lot of bold colors lately, so I have not washed this properly in the last couple of days, so it's got some color on it. But I'm gonna go in with the Soft Glam palette and the Modern Renaissance palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I use them both in conjunction together, so I've got them sitting here like this on my little keypad thing that I use. I will tell you colors as I go, so I won't have to show you what they look like, but basically I'm starting with Warm Taupe. Now, it's extremely pigmented, and I tapped it, but I'm gonna make sure the excess comes off before I apply it to my eye. And let's just go. This is going in my crease and down here a little bit onto my eye, and you can already see a little bit of fallout. You will have less fallout if you make sure that all the excess is popped off your brush, but you will still have some, and that is why we do foundation after the eyes, especially when we're going to be putting this much product on our eyes. I just want to make sure that I'm blending up in this area just a little bit. I don't want to come all the way to the brow, but I do want to bring it up on this bone, especially since the older you get, the more hooded your eyes might end up being, and you don't want it to look like they're more recessed. You want it to bring them forward a little bit, but you want to make sure that the crease looks like it's up in here too, which seems kind of strange. But anyway, so blending is super important. All right, now the scary part is when you go in with Love Letter, which is a very deep hot pink. It's almost a fuchsia. There's also Venetian Red that I really liked, and I don't think I ended up using that on my wedding day, but I did use the Love Letter. Now, I barely touched it. That is how much is on there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the brush to where this part is facing the top part of my eye. You see how that, like, there's nothing on the bottom of this brush right here? That part's going right there. And I'm going to touch it in here in this corner. Now all this gets cleaned up, so don't panic. If you guys get this messed up, you know, don't panic, because you're going to clean all of it up when you're done. Okay, now we're going to take that same brush, we're going to use what's on there, and we're just going to bring it over a little bit. I don't want to bring it all the way over, but I do want some intensity with this look, because my wedding is at 5 o'clock in the evening, which means it's, you know, in the summertime, it's actually it was springtime. It is not going to get dark until 8:15, or it wasn't going to get dark until 8:15 that night. So I knew I had some hours of sunlight, but I also knew that I was going to be doing a lot of after-hour dancing and reception and all, and I wanted it to be pretty dramatic. Plus, you know, when you're going to do your bridal makeup, if you're going for a dramatic look, then, you know, make it pop. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up a little bit. I'm taking off any excess that might be on there, which was really none. And I'm going to just make sure that that is softly blended. But now you'll see the dark pink ends about right there, and it just softly comes over. Like the pink, the darkest pink of that is going to end there, and then it's just going to blend into here. But there's not any heavy pink over on this side. I want the most of that, the majority of that on the outside right here. All right, so I'm barely just bringing that up. I'm putting a little in the corner. You can always go back and add more depth and more pink and more whatever color you want to. Once you finish the whole thing, you can always adjust whichever color you think needs more, you know, impact or whatever. So I'm not going to do any more right now on that. What I do want to do is take a smaller kind of a pencil brush, and it is the Morphe E36, which is going to look like this. I'm going to go in and kind of really redefine my crease in here with the Love Letter. But I'm using a dot, and you see how much is on there. So definitely don't want to go straight in my eye with that. We want it to be able to blend, so we don't want to go straight in with a bunch of harsh color. But I want that out here so that when I do kind of my semi-cut crease, that it will really be defined in this part right here. And I can always add color to it later too, like I was saying. Now, I did use a little bit of the Cypress Umber, which is in both of these palettes. There are a couple of colors that are in both palettes. One of them is Cypress Umber, one of them is Tempera, and then there's another one that I will tell you in a minute, and I can't remember which one it is. But right now, I'm barely putting a little bit of that Cypress Umber right out here on the outside. And then I'm gonna put a little tiny bit of the Love Letter back over the top of that. What that's gonna do is give me some depth without it being super hot pink right here, and I'll build that up. So I'm going back and forth with those two colors. I'm leaving it like that. Now I did bring the Cypress Umber under my eye for the wedding, because that is going to really make a blue eye pop. I'm just going to tell you, the blue eyes with the deep brown is really a nice contrast. So I brought it out on the edge. Right now it just looks like I got punched in the eyes. But like I said, when I'm done, everything's going to clean up and you're going to be like, whoa, I never saw that coming. But it will be pretty, I promise. Now comes the part that I think is kind of the fun part. And this is where we're doing kind of what I call a cut crease. It's not necessarily the way the professionals really do the cut crease as much. They use concealer. I do not, because concealer transfers so quickly to my upper lid that it just creates a complete disastrous mess. Normally I would have a mini concealer brush for this, which would be a flat brush, but I cannot find it right now from all the honeymooning and all the stuff. This is my Morphe B44 brush, and it looks like this, which is more of a lip liner brush or lipstick brush. But I'm going to take that Mac Paintpot, and that is what I'm going to use to make my what I call semi-cut crease. What I'll do is pack this right on the eyelid, and it's going to clean up everything that has fallen or has transferred down to this part of my eye. And it's going to give me a clean slate to work with, but it's also going to give me a waterproof slate. You see my eye so wrinkly? Yeah, I just turned 48. Makes you feel super young when your eye's all wrinkled up and moving when you're trying to put your eye makeup on. Okay, so I am covering this corner, even though I'm really going to go back and add some of that definition back. It seems kind of crazy, I know, but I want it to look a certain way. Now I'm going to pack on a little bit more. I want to make sure I don't have any color transfer. Clean my brush off and go back into the Mac Paintpot. Now this is going to be sticky unless I set it. So I am going to, you see that? It's so funny. You see that, how it's pulling my skin out? It's just kind of creepy, honestly. But that's because it's sticky. It's a paint pot. It's not concealer. This is where we are so far. I've got the paint pot on the lid. I'm debating on whether I'm going to set that or not. I'm trying to remember what I did for the actual wedding day because it was chaotic. But what I'm going to do, and this is what you can do, is you can choose one way or the other. I think my white shirt just fell in my dark colored eyeshadows. Yippee. All right, so what you can do is you can go ahead and put a light color all over your lid. I'm going to take a clean, fluffy brush, and I'm going to go in with a very light color like Tempera from the two palettes I'm using, and I'm just going to pack that on. But you see how that's giving me a light base that we're going to put our color over. So that colors are really going to pop. Okay, so now I'm ready for all the, what I call the impact colors. They're gonna go on my lid. All right, so what I'm using is some of the older MAC pigments. I got these a long time ago. I think they still make these, just not in this format. These were a set that it came out with. This was a stacked set, and this was stacked 2, this was stacked 1. And I'm gonna show you the color because it doesn't even tell me the color on here. But I want to make sure that you get something comparable. So here is the first one. That is a kind of a light pink, and then the one on the bottom, because they stack on top of each other, is more of a deeper pink. And I'm also using the Tarte chrome paint, and these are shadow pots, but they are like the craziest like texture. They're pigment, but they look like they're cream, and so they kind of feel creamy too. This one's called Frosé, which is rose gold, basically, is what this one looks like. So this one gives you a really crazy iridescent, so it's kind of yellow, but it's pink also. This one looks great for what I'm using it for. And then this one is sun drenched, and it is like that. So it's more of a golden color.